Hi, I'm Chris from Lecture Owl, and welcome to Music for All. In this 10-part course, I'm going to teach you how to play guitar from picking up a guitar for the very first time all the way through to playing your very first song. In today's episode, we're going to talk about major, minor, and power chords. Now that we've learned where all of the strings are on the guitar, let's learn some basic chords. We're going to start off with all of the major chords, and then we'll learn their minor variations. So the first chord we're going to learn is the A chord. Now the A chord is played with the bottom 4 strings, and it sounds like this. That's an A major chord. So there's 2 ways you can do this. One of the ways is to bar 3 strings with 1 finger, or you can use your pointer, middle, and ring fingers to play the chord. So we're going to take our pointer finger and we're going to place it on the D string, 2nd fret. We're going to take our middle finger, we're going to place it on the G string on the 2nd fret, and we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to place it on the B string on the 2nd fret. We're going to play the A string open and the E string open. So it's going to sound something like this. As an alternative, we can take our pointer finger and cover all 3 strings. I personally find, however, it's much easier to use all 3 fingers. Now the next chord we're going to learn is a little bit more challenging. It's the B major chord, and we're going to have to do a little bit of a stretch. So when strumming this chord, we're going to strum all of the strings except for the low E string. So we're going to take our pointer finger and we're going to place it on the 2nd fret on the A string, and we're actually going to bar all of the strings. So we're going to push down with our finger and cover all of the strings. The most important strings to hit are the A string and the high E string. So now that we've got our finger placed there, we're going to take our middle finger and we're going to stretch it over to the 4th fret on the D string. So D string on the 4th fret, and then our ring finger over on the G string on the 4th fret, and then our pinky is going to go on the 4th fret on the B string. And it sounds like this. An alternative is you can take your pointer finger and bar all of the strings from the A string to the high E string on the 2nd fret, and then take your pinky finger or your ring finger and bar all of the strings from the D string to the B string on the 4th fret. So pointer finger barring all of these strings, A, G, D, B, and E on the 2nd fret, and then your ring finger barring the D string, G string, and B string on the 4th fret. A little bit more of a challenge, but there it is. The next chord we're going to learn is the C major chord. So we're going to take our pointer finger and we're going to place it on the 1st fret on the B string. We'll take our middle finger and we'll place it on the 2nd fret on the D string, and we'll take our ring finger and we'll place it on the 3rd fret on the A string. And we're going to strum all of the strings except for the low E. It should sound something like this. The next chord we're going to cover is the D major chord. It's an easy chord to play, and it's often the first chord that many people learn. So we're going to take our pointer finger and we're going to place it on the 2nd fret on the G string. We're going to take our middle finger, we're going to place it on the 2nd fret on the high E string, and we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to place it on the 3rd fret on the B string. And we're going to strum the D string downwards. Sounds something like this. Now an alternative method is we can take our pointer finger and we can bar the 2nd fret from the G string all the way to the high E string. So we'll cover the 2nd fret on the G string, the B string, and the high E string, and then we can take our ring finger or even our pinky and cover the 3rd fret on the B string. Your choice. Now the next chord we're going to cover is the E major chord, which is another pretty easy chord. We're going to take our pointer finger and we're going to place it on the first fret on the G string. We're going to take our middle finger and we're going to place it on the second fret on the A string, and we'll take our ring finger and we'll place it on the second fret on the D string. It should sound something like this. And for the E major chord, we're going to strum all of the strings. The next chord we're going to learn is the F major chord. Now the F major chord is essentially the same shape as the E major chord, except for everything is just moved up one, because if you remember, our open string low is an E. The next note up on the first fret is an F. So essentially we're taking that same shape and we're just sliding it up to make an F major. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our pointer finger to bar all of the notes on the first fret. So we're going to bar all of the strings on the first fret. Then we're going to take our middle finger and we're going to place it on the second fret on the G string. Then we'll take our ring finger and we'll place it on the third fret on the A string, and our pinky goes on the third fret on the D string. So we're making that same shape that we made down here on the E chord, but we've just slid it up, and instead of using these fingers, we're using these fingers. And again, our pointer finger is just barring the first fret. It should sound something like this. And again, we're strumming all of the strings on the F chord. Now for the G major chord, again, you're going to strum all of the strings. This is another pretty easy chord. We're going to take our pointer finger and we're going to place it on the second fret on the A string. We'll take our middle finger, we're going to place it on the third fret on the low E string, and then we'll take our ring finger, also place it on the third fret on the B string, and take our pinky and place it on the third fret on the high E string, and it should sound something like this. And there you go, that's all of the basic major chords. So again, we learned the A major chord, the B major chord, the C major chord, the D major chord, the E major chord, the F major chord, and the G major chord. Next, let's move on to minor chords. All right, we've learned our major chords. Now let's look at the minor chords. So major chords usually sound quite happy, and they're very positive. For example, the A major is a very happy sound. And minor chords, on the other hand, often sound tense, melancholy, or unhappy. Here's an A minor chord. So listen again to the difference, A major and A minor. So to play the A minor chord, again, we're going to strum from the A string downwards. So we're going to place our pointer finger on the first fret on the B string. We're going to take our middle finger and place it on the second fret on the D string, and our ring finger on the second fret on the G string. And again, we're just strumming from the A string downwards. And there's our A minor. Now the B minor can be played two different ways. It can be played like this, or like this. And for the sake of quick, easy learning, we're going to do it in the second form. Now, if you'll notice, this is actually the same chord shape as the A minor was. Essentially, we're just sliding it up to the B note. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take our pointer finger and we're going to place it on the second fret on the A string, and we're going to bar all the way down to the high E string. Then we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to place it on the fourth fret on the D string, and we're going to take our pinky finger and we're going to place it on the fourth fret on the G string, and we're going to take our middle finger and we're going to place it on the third fret on the B string. And that's our B minor. Now our C minor is the exact same shape, we just slide it up 1. Because if you remember, on the A string, the notes go A, B, and C. So we're just going to take our B chord form and slide it up 1. So again, to play the C minor chord, we're going to take our pointer finger, we're going to place it on the 3rd fret on the A string, and we're going to bar it all the way down to the E string. We're going to take our ring finger, and we're going to place it on the 5th fret on the D string, and our pinky finger on the 5th fret on the G string, and our middle finger on the 4th fret on the B string. And we're not going to play the low E, just the A string downwards. So B minor, C minor. Now the D minor is a little bit of a different shape, and for this we're going to strum our D string all the way down to the high E. So we're going to take our middle finger and we're going to place it on the 2nd fret on the G string, ring finger on the 3rd fret on the B string, and pointer finger on the 1st fret on the E string. And we're going to play the D string all the way down. So if you remember from the major chord, the chord shape looks like this. And all that's happened is instead of the middle finger fretting the 2nd fret on the E string, it just slides down 1. So we transfer that to there. D major, D minor, onto E minor. Now the E minor chord is quite simple. It's actually one of the easiest chords to play. And for the E minor chord, we're going to strum all of the strings. So we're going to take our pointer finger, we're going to place it down on the 2nd fret on the A string, and we're going to take our middle finger and we're going to place it down on the 2nd fret on the D string. And we're just going to play all of the strings. And there's our E minor chord. Now our F minor chord, like the F major, is the exact same shape but just moved up 1. So we're going to take our pointer finger and we're going to bar all of the strings on the 1st fret. We're going to take our ring finger and we're going to place it on the 3rd fret on the A string, and our pinky finger on the 3rd fret on the D string. And there is our F minor. So E minor, F minor. And the G minor is very easy because it's the exact same shape as the F minor, and we just slide it up 2 to the 3rd fret. So we're going to slide our fingers up. So pointer finger bars all of the strings on the 3rd fret, and our ring finger goes on the 5th fret on the A string, and our pinky finger goes on the 5th fret on the D string. And there is our G minor. So to recap, we started with A minor, moved that shape up to B minor, moved that shape up 1 to C minor, moved down to D minor, moved over and played all of the strings for E minor, moved up 1 for F minor, and then moved up 2 for G minor. Now we've covered our basic major and minor chords, and there's a lot more chords that you could learn. However, for the sake of making this instructional series very quick and easy to learn, we're not going to cover any more of those chords. What we will do is cover 3 more chord shapes, which enable us to play notes all over the neck in major, minor, and a power chord form. So the first new chord form that we're going to learn is the power chord. Now the power chord is actually the same shape that we just learned for the E minor, F minor, and G minor chord shapes, but we're not going to play all of the strings. So with the E minor chord, what we played was this. But for the power chord, we're only going to play 3 strings. That's going to be the low E string, the A string, and the D string. So this was our E minor chord, and this is our E power chord, but we're going to play it with some distortion. It should sound something like this. Now at the end there, I went and I played a G power chord. So the shape of a power chord is basically this. You have one finger, let's use the G for an example. We have one finger on the G note on the low E string, which is the 3rd fret. So pointer finger on the 3rd fret on the E string, our ring finger on the 5th fret on the A string, and then our pinky on the 5th fret on the D string. And so a power chord consists of 3 notes. It consists of a root note, a 5th note, and then that root an octave higher. And we're going to go more into that later. So we can actually take that chord form and we can move it all over the neck to make different chords. And we actually name the chord after the root note, which is the lowest note. So here the lowest note is an E, which makes it an E power chord. Over here the lowest note is the 3rd fret on the E string, which is a G, which makes it the G power chord. So we've got E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E, so on and so forth. Now we can play this on the A string, on the D string, and we can even go all the way down to the G string. But the difference is, and this goes back to when we were learning to tune the guitar, if you remember, the 5th fret on the E string and the open string below is the same note. And that's the same all the way down, except for on the G string, where the G and the B strings are slightly different, and it's the 4th fret. That's the same note as the open B string below. So what this means is our power chord form works in the way that we've learned, all the way down until the D string. On the D string, we actually have to move our pinky up 1, so our pointer finger is on the 2nd fret on the D string, our ring finger is on the 4th fret on the G string, and our pinky finger is on the 5th fret on the B string. And it sounds like this. And if we're going to play power chords on the G string, instead of playing with the shape that we learned initially, or the shape that we learned for the D string, we're actually going to move our ring finger up 1 so that there's actually a space of 2 frets in between. So to play an E power chord on the G string, we're going to take our pointer finger and we're going to find the E note on the G string, which is the 9th fret, and use our pinky finger to bar the B string and the E string at the 12th fret. So we can actually play this chord position all over the guitar. On the E string, on the A string, on the D string, on the E string, or sorry, G string. All right, now that we've looked at power chord forms, let's look at 2 other chord forms that we can play anywhere on the top 4 guitar strings, a major chord form and a minor chord form. So we're going to start with a D major chord form. So we're going to take our pinky and we're going to place it on the 5th fret on the A string. We're going to take our ring finger and we're going to place it on the 4th fret on the D string, and our pointer finger, and we're going to place that on the 2nd fret on the G string. And that is a D major chord. Now, to simply shift this to minor, we're going to take off our ring finger and we're going to put our middle finger down on the 3rd fret on the A string. Or sorry, on the D string. Middle finger, 3rd fret on the D string. And that's a D minor. So to make it major, we just move our ring finger back up to the 4th fret on the D string, and then minor. To make it an A minor and play it on the E string, we just simply move that chord form up with our pinky finger on the 5th fret on the E string, middle finger on the 3rd fret on the A string, and pointer finger on the 2nd fret on the D string. And we can play this all the way up on the neck. And if you remember the G chord that we learned earlier, this is actually the same as the top 3 strings of that G chord. So this is the G major, A major, B major, C major, D major, If we want to, again, we want to turn that to a minor, we just drop that middle finger, or sorry, that ring finger down 1 fret and use our middle finger. Thanks for watching episode 4. I hope you found today's lesson helpful and valuable. If you have any questions or for more information, feel free to visit us at lectureowl.com. Next, in episode 5, we're going to talk about the C major and A minor scales.